Hello everyone and welcome to another EV Geek Studio review. As always, I'm Joel, he's Sebastian, and this is a 2024 Silverado RST First Edition, courtesy of Everett Chevrolet. Sebastian, he's been spoiled. He's actually had to have this car, drive this car now for the last 2 days. Sebastian, first impressions.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, let's back up.
Yeah.
You've done a video of the Silverado EV RST.
It was like a 15-20 minute video.
It was like 15-20 minutes. You were by yourself, basically.
Yep.
Wasn't very in-depth.
Yep.
But you've spent some time with the vehicle
I spent a
already.
little bit of time with it, yes.
That one was black. I think it was probably also a first edition.
Yes.
Anyway, this one, so it's still a 2024 first edition. Want to note, there's not that many changes for 2025 on these, except they made the motors more efficient, so it technically gets more range.
Okay.
EPA at least,
yep.
Or GM estimated. This thing's heavy enough it doesn't get EPA tested.
Okay.
So this one, being a 2024, GM claimed 450 miles of range, and on the 2025s, I think they claimed 460. Now, whether or not you get that is a whole different story. I've been driving this around, like you mentioned, for the last 2 days, and so far have averaged 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour. I digress.
Which is about average for these things. So
yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's a giant, this thing, I think the trailer sticker on the door says 8,957 pounds.
Yes.
It's a big boy.
It's a big boy.
That said, you know, fast forwarding, a couple weeks ago, we released a video of the Sierra Denali, Sierra EV Denali. And in that video, I said I liked it more, but after spending like 2 days of this, I don't know if that's true anymore.
Ooh, he switched his mind.
We'll talk about that more as we go.
Yes.
But so far, I love the way this looks. It does a really awesome light animation on the front that looks really cool when you approach with the key in your pocket, and then as you get out, it does a different animation turning off. I think these look really good in white.
They do. The white's better than the black. Yes.
The white's better than the black. I haven't seen many 2025s out there yet. In 2025, they actually started offering colors.
Yes. We do.
And so I'm excited to maybe see some of those on the road. There's some blues and some oranges and, things like that. That said, sad news, there will not be a 2026 Silverado EV RST.
Nope. We just did a news episode on this. So why is that?
Because for 2026, they're finally introducing the Trail Boss trim, which has a factory 2-inch lift and has a bunch of goodies on it.
Yep.
And as part of that transition, they're going to sunset the RST model to where the Silverado EV lineup is the work truck, the LT, and the Trail Boss. And honestly, I kind of get it.
It makes sense, yes.
You can option the LT to where it has pretty much everything this truck has, except for like the 24-inch wheels.
Yep.
And so it kind of makes sense to me, and I can see how GM wouldn't want to necessarily have two $90-something thousand trucks in their arsenal. This one, the window sticker, because when it was new, 96 grand.
Yep.
However, as we mentioned, this is a 2024 model year, and I'm sure Everett would love to make you a deal to get it off their lot.
It's been sitting a lot for a while, so.
But yeah, so this one, 96 grand, that's about where like the max range Sierra EV Denali was. I could see GM not really feeling like they have room for three $90,000 trucks, because there's also the Hummer. And so yeah, I don't think it's a huge surprise that we're discontinuing the RST, but these things are going to be awesome on the used market.
They are.
Just spoiler alert.
I mean, we found
this thing is pretty great.
We found some work trucks brand new for what?
For like 45.
45. So yeah, so the prices on these are coming down, especially with the used market. As always, we're going to do a quick walk around the vehicle, then we'll hop inside, do an infotainment review, interior review, driver review, and then give you our final thoughts. So stay tuned. All right, Sebastian, quick outside tour here of this Silverado RST.
Yeah, so Silverado EV RST. This is a 2024 first edition. 2025s look pretty much identical on the outside, except you can get more colors. Starting off, air suspension. This one has low ride mode, and you can see it looks pretty sweet lowered all the way down. These are big old 24-inch wheels, and you can see in low ride mode there's about 2 fingers between the tire and the wheel well. And if you just back up and look at it a little bit from a further away, it looks pretty mean slammed like this. So for those who don't know, in GM trim levels, RST stands for Rally Sport Truck. This is supposed to be a sport truck. So it makes sense that you could do this. That said, these did at some point start getting updates available to them to add what Chevy is calling Sidewinder mode, which Sidewinder is crab walk. Apparently, according to Nebula, he's on Twitter and like every GM forum in existence, if you get Sidewind mode, you lose low ride.
Oh, okay.
I think low ride is way
I like it
cooler
better,
than crab
yeah.
walking.
You'd use it more than sidewind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so big old 24-inch wheels, looks cool. You've got the RST, you get these black mirror caps. It kind of adds nice contrast. Big old glass roof, we'll look at it in a minute. You can see in typical GM fashion, the E in the model name is blue to indicate it's electric.
It's electric.
You've got passive door access on all 4 doors. Love to see it.
Yep.
Here's that window sticker where you can point out this one had an MSRP of $96,535. This is the point that's controversial on the truck. A lot of people get mad that they called it a Silverado because it looks like an Avalanche.
Yep.
I actually, I like the way it looks. I also am in the party that says they could have just called this a Avalanche.
Yep.
It has enough E's in it to put a blue E in the name.
They could have, yeah.
They could have done it and it would have been the return of the Avalanche, and I think a lot of people would have liked it.
Yep.
This has a CCS port on it. They have a CCS, upside down. They have a CCS port on the 2025 model year as well. Not sure. GM has said they're going to switch to NACS. Not sure when. However, this vehicle can charge at Tesla superchargers with an adapter, of course. Yep. However, as we've mentioned on the other GM vehicles that use this big old battery pack, so this one is, of course, the 24 module Ultium pack, so it's 212-ish kilowatt hours usable, high voltage when charging, 400 volt when driving around. Since Tesla superchargers currently don't support anything over 500 and something volts, this won't charge as fast on a supercharger as it could on a 350 kilowatt Electrify America station. This thing can do, I think, somewhere around 370 kilowatts, because it will actually, if the charger supports it, request a little bit more than 500 amps.
You need a 400 kilowatt station to do it.
So you could do it, or like on a EVgo 350, one of the Delta stations,
Gotcha.
those will do 540 amps.
Gotcha.
And so yeah, so these things will charge pretty decently. I think on this 10 to 80 is right around 40 minutes,
Okay.
which again, 212 kilowatt hour
Yes.
battery pack.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
for reference for those listening, I drove this here in Little Rock from my house. It was about 42 miles. I used 10% of the battery.
Yep.
So that would be 420 miles.
It'd be like literally filling up 4 Teslas almost.
I used approximately 20 kilowatt hours, and that was only 10% battery.
Yep.
Anyway, moving around back, this of course is a GM pickup truck, so it's got the multi-flex tailgate that you expect, where you have 2 buttons there. You can press this one and drop the top half of the gate. It does have some assist on it. It's a little slow. You can hit this, pull it up, use it as a load stop. You can also fold all this back up. If you hit both of them rapidly,
It falls down.
it falls down like that, and then you press on this and pull it down, and you have a step into
You
the
got your
bed.
step.
You can also operate it like that,
Yep.
and you have a load stop flat. This one also has what GM calls power base. You've got a 30 amp 240 outlet here. You also have 2 20 amp outlets here for 2.4 kilowatts each, and then 7.2 kilowatts, and then you have your circuit breakers here and a button to turn the feature on and off. However, you notice it does turn on when you open the cover, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Still have to get back in the truck to turn it on. You also have like bed lights back here. This one has a bed liner. It's got the Midgate. This being a first edition, came with a soft roll-up tonneau cover. I have it open because it was easier to show things off like this. But one thing these
And it was a little dirty.
and it was a little dirty. But one thing these GM trucks are missing, and it surprises me, tailgate power down.
With no power
Does
up.
not power up.
You gotta use your muscles.
Got to use your muscles.
Yep.
I don't like that.
Yep. We don't like to use our muscles. We're EV geeks.
Coming around the passenger side, not a whole lot else to look at. I'm gonna pop this open. You can check out the back seat a little bit.
See, I
you
saw-
can get
you
your
get to-
first peek of the interior.
And you kind of know it's going to be a huge back seat here. So yeah, plenty of room. We have, looks like heated seats. We
Should have
have
some power on the
2
floor.
USB-Cs and another 110 outlet, yes.
Yeah, and this is kind of, you can get your first peek too. You've got this like black, blue, and red interior design with a blue and red stitching, which is kind of cool. It's on the seats.
Looks like we're sporting the Bose sound system too.
Yep, you got Bose sound system.
By the way, these cars have cup holders forever too.
Forever. So you've got 2 in the back of the front console. You also have in the armrest there, you should have 2 more.
Yep.
Bada bing, bada boom. Then you've got all these in the door. So you've got 2 bottle holders and in a spot that's labeled umbrella.
Umbrella.
Nice. Almost, does it have a drain hole? No. See, if it's going to be for an umbrella, it's got a hole.
Have a
It needs to
drain
have a hole.
hole.
And if you want to take a real quick peek,
Running boards
I'll
too.
throw a clip of the Midgate actually open in here. But you can see, to do that, I love, they give you a spot to shove the seatbelt so it stays out of the way. Nice little attention to detail. And to do the Midgate, you would pull that really easy, flips that forward, then you can hit this button pull this latch here on the floor, and you can actually drop the seat, and then you have your buttons here. You press to open. You do have to open that side before you can open this side.
And there's a cool little thing right here that you can store the mirror to.
Yeah, you can also take the glass out and put back here.
Yeah,
and if you really want to, if you just want to drive around without a back window,
yeah, you can do that.
You can put that like that, then put the seats back up.
Yep.
And it works. It's fine. They tell you in the owner's manual, you can do it.
You don't have to worry about breaking in or anything like that. Yet.
Right. Anyway, super cool. Again, you can see Bose sound system. There's a subwoofer.
There's a sub. Yep.
The other side, you do have storage. Right now, it has the included EVSE in it.
Yep.
On the outside, only thing to look at is this does have a front trunk, which I only call out because that seems to be a little rare in GM speak. However, all the big trucks have one.
Yep.
Open it. There's a button down here. You can also do it on the key fob, and you can do it from the inside. We'll press that up. Power opens. Like the other GM trucks, it takes it a minute. And it's a pretty decent little size.
Yeah.
It's not as big as like the F-150 Lightning. It's bigger than Cybertruck, bigger than R1T. You have a 20 amp power outlet here.
There we go.
Which is nice, good for 2.4 kilowatts, so it's an actual 20 amp plug, which is nice. You also have your wiper fluid here, and you have your
emergency exit, is that what we like to call it here?
You got your emergency exit, you've got your fire panel, and your 12-volt battery. I'm not going to say why you need to know where that is.
Yep.
You can probably figure that out.
Yep.
To close the front trunk, you can either hit this button here, or you can just
give it a soft pull.
Give it a soft pull, and it will come the rest of the way. And yeah, I mean, on the front of this, again, we have it slammed right now. You've got this nice light bar. The logo also lights up. You've got your grille down here. It has active aero in it, so it does have shutters that will open and close. You've got all the driver's assistance on this. It has Super Cruise. It's got the blind spot monitoring, all that jazz. Everything it could ever need. Anything else before we hop in?
Let's hop in, take a look at the inside, drive it, and let you know our thoughts. All right, we are now inside where it's less windy of the Silverado RST. Sebastian, quick view of the interior and infotainment.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, if you've seen one of these GM EV interiors, a lot of this is going to look familiar. However, there are some nice accents that you get on the Silverado EV RST compared to even like the LT model. Just for starters, again, this red and blue stitching on the dashboard, as well as you have red and blue stitching on the seat and piping on the seats. You have it on the center console here. This one being a first edition also comes with this nice metal badge that says first edition. You have red accenting on the air vents. I mean, it looks pretty sweet. You got red stitching on the steering wheel, black emblems, you know, pretty nice little interior. You do have some piano black in here, which, it's at least not like super egregious piano black. Looking around in here, you've already kind of looked at it. You have a digital rearview mirror. Love to see it, especially on a vehicle this size. You've got LED lights in here all throughout. They're really bright at night. This does not have color changing ambient lighting. It does have ambient lighting though.
So just one color.
It's white, and it kind of, you can see there's one that projects down from here. There's some in here. There's some in like this pocket there. It's in the spaces you want it. There's some in these side pockets as well. But yeah, so the last day or so that I've driven this, seats are comfortable. They're typical GM truck seats. They're huge.
We like our big seats.
They have their power adjusting. Of course, they have lumbar adjustment. It's all on the side of the seat. Makes sense. No massaging seats, which we've started to see in some of these more luxury vehicles, and it would be nice to have.
We've been spoiled.
But I'll allow it. As you mentioned, Bose sound system. Sounds pretty decent. I kind of have the tendency to agree with some of the other reviews I've seen on this truck. It could use more bass.
Okay.
That said, it still sounds good. I feel like sometimes when you say it needs more bass, you get the impression that people want it to sound muddy.
Yep.
This still has a pretty crisp sound to it, but there are times when I'm listening to certain genres of music I would like a little bit more. That said, it was perfectly fine, especially considering, we mentioned this on the Sierra, it's only like a 7-speaker system.
It's not, there's not many speakers in this.
You know, like the Ford truck has a lot, the Lightning has a lot, Cybertruck of course has a lot. Cadillac Vistic and Optic have like the best sound systems in the game right now.
Escalade had like what, 17?
Yeah, well I think Escalade didn't sound as good as the Optic and the Vistic. Yeah. And the Vistic has like 20 something.
Volvo is supposed to have a really good sound system.
Volvo has a really good sound system. But this, for this to only be like a 7-speaker system, sounds perfectly fine. Coming in here, we'll look at infotainment real quick. This, as I mentioned, is the GM Android Automotive infotainment system. This is kind of the startup screen. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. They do pretty much a lot of the same things. I do appreciate you have hard climate controls for the features you will use most, which is temperature, fan speed, and defrost.
So they're not on the screen, that's good.
They are actually also on the screen. You can control them on the screen, but you do have just actual physical...
But it's for me who doesn't like fingerprints on my screen.
Yeah,
that would be better.
You do have actual physical controls here. Looking up at the screen, I have a complaint about this infotainment system that after spending a lot of time in a lot of these GM vehicles, it needs to have a lighter mode.
Okay.
When the sun is out, this whole kind of dark background gets hard to see sometimes. It needs to have like a mode where you can have a white background. That said, not a huge deal, especially right now it's cloudy and it looks really nice.
Yep.
My second complaint on this system specifically, as I've been using it, anytime I've needed to do something on the top of the screen, I keep finding myself like resting my hand here to control the screen, and the power button's right there. And so I'll end up hitting it and either muting the radio or it'll accidentally press and hold and then turn off. Which when it turns off, this is what it looks like now, you know.
You almost wish that that would be like a push power on the knob or something.
Right, which this is one of those knobs that's like pass through, so you can see you've got the design on the inside and on the outside of it. Pretty neat, pretty nifty little thing. But anyway, looking at the screen. So like most of these GM vehicles, you have your kind of quick shortcuts here. These are adaptive and change based on what you're doing. So like right now, the buttons are vehicle off. You can set it to stay on for a certain amount of time. You have this quick toggle to your controls, and you have your light controls. When you're driving, your one pedal selector comes up here, which makes sense.
I like that, yep.
While we're in controls, you can kind of look at this.
Put a battery preconditioning button over there too.
We'll get there.
Yep.
While you're in controls, we can take a look at this. You have settings for your camera, HUD, dome light, typical things, and you can tap and hold these.
Oh, there is heads-up display. Oh, I
sure
forgot
is.
about that. Yep.
Yep. You can tap and hold these, slide them around. So like I moved camera to the very first one because I kept finding myself looking at it because like when I'm not used to driving a vehicle this large on a daily basis, so I'd go to park and want to very quickly double check like, oh, am I in the spot?
So, yeah.
Hey, I actually have not messed up a park job yet.
Look at you.
Look at me go.
It's called growth.
You have your traction control, auto high beams, auto park, park assist. This car has very, very aggressive park assist. I was trying to back out of my driveway this morning and I have a little like crabgrass bush in my front yard that I need to cut down, but I haven't yet. Anyway, every time I would get close to it, the car would just lock up the brakes. And I was just trying to back out, and so like it would lock up the brakes. I would move another 2 inches, it would lock up the brakes again. It was like, sir, it's grass. It's not gonna hurt you. After like the 4th time, it actually came up on the screen and said it was disabling park assist because it assumed I had like a bike rack attached.
Oh, okay.
It was like park assist disable, accessory connected.
Okay.
Anyway, you have your settings here for power base. So this is the outlets in the back. Of course, you can come in here, you can set up a timer. Say I want them to only run for up to
so if you're camping, have something
24 hours. You can also set it to automatically shut off when the battery hits.
0.
You can go all the way down to 0%.
There you go.
Heck yeah. And it looks like in 5% increments, which is nice. I'm going to set that back to 20. 20% is apparently 90 miles.
Yep.
Heck yeah. You also can have in here your option to turn on or off rear steering. And this is where I mentioned before, if you have the update done that does Sidewinder, you have the button here as well. You can hit see more controls like all of these GM vehicles. So you kind of have more of these general menus where you have like doors and windows. Again, your power window lockout. You can hit drive and park. You get all these settings for traction control, auto park, blind zone, one pedal driving. So I have it in high like I typically do, which is very high. You have a speed limiter. This is an interesting feature. I would never use it. So you can have it set manual and you actually set the limit, or you can have it auto and it will follow the speed limit signs and won't let you go above whatever the speed limit is.
So if you have kids, then again, you probably won't have kids driving a $95,000
and
car.
it automatically disables if you turn cruise control on.
Gotcha, yeah.
So turning my back off. And again, rear steer, it's just auto. That's the only option. Coming in here, typical GM layout, you have your home button here. This is kind of the home screen. You have a split layout, which would show Google Maps here on the side. Let me go in. This is still in demo mode, so I have to
It's always in demo mode.
accept before I can use anything. You have your map on the right, and on the left side right now it says no content. This would be music. You can also swipe through here. It does take it a second to load some of these pages. It does have trailer view, tire pressure, and Google Assistant. I'm going to take it back here. Let me go back home. We look at vehicle status. This does take a second to load in the first time. They fixed this on the Vistic because on the Vistic it doesn't try to do this fly around motion. I think that is what takes the longest, is it has to render that. Also, small gripe GM. So this design very clearly shows a Silverado EV RST.
Yep.
These are the wheels on the LT model. Attention to detail. Anyway, click on this. You have tire
Sebastian
pressure.
would
I would only notice that. You're correct. You have tire pressure. You can click on each individual wheel. You can hit this on the door to see your energy efficiency.
2.0.
Well, I think that's where it automatically sets it to because we haven't driven. Yeah. So it's saying average is 2
gotcha.
miles, 0 mile trip.
So it's not your overall average.
You can also, as in the other GM vehicles, you can hit add to driver display and it'll pop up here on the left. So right now I have it showing.
Which is what you like.
Yeah, right now I have it actually showing the trip computer.
So 1.8 over. It's the total.
Yeah. You can hit energy usage, and this actually gives you a breakdown of how much power you've used for each feature. So we've used 0.3 kilowatt hours for climate control just sitting here. And not a whole lot else to look at here. You can also, of course, just hit tire pressure, energy info, and here's your trip computer again. Come back home, you have your drive modes. So this is like the other GM vehicles where you have my mode, normal, off-road, and tow haul. So I typically drive around, as people who have seen the other GM vehicles we've done, drive around in my mode with the settings set, steering and sport, suspension and normal. Actually, I'm going to put it in tour because I thought I did that yesterday. Apparently didn't. Sport, no motor sound.
No motor sound.
This is also, you also have a button here. You can quickly jump into your trailer menu. You also have wide open watts, wow mode. Wow mode automatically turns on the fake motor noises. However, it makes the truck boogie.
It does.
Not that the truck is slow without it.
Not that we tried it out or anything.
Makes the truck boogie.
Yes.
Anyway, coming back home. You've got your Google Assistant, Play Store. We're in demo mode, can't really show that, but Play Store, you can add apps. You can add Spotify, Better Route Planner, Plug Share, etc. Go into charging menu, like the other GM vehicles. You have your charge limit, so you can set this, they recommend 80%. You can set this all the way down to 50%.
80% is how much? How many miles? Oh gosh, 380.
360. You have come in here, if your car is set up with my Chevrolet account, it will show you nearby chargers. You can set up charge schedules, and you can come in here to settings, and you can set up home charge location, notifications. You have this button here, on-demand preconditioning. Love to see it.
Yep.
Just like an athlete, your battery needs a warm up. You can set what temperature you want it to precondition to when you remote start the car, and if you have any times you'd rather it charge versus not charge. Come in here, you have your camera menu. So this has 360 cameras, of course, and you can come in here. Again, I love that while you're in the camera view, like if you're in reverse, you can turn one pedal on or off. So if you need to be able to creep, you can do that. And then it's easy to, you just have a quick toggle. Love it. Because when I was parking it last night in my carport, I was trying to inch as close to my steps as possible. Well, it's a little hard to inch when you kind of have to give it real throttle to move. And so being able to actually just creep, being able to just toggle that was nice. So front camera, you have a front here, overhead.
Good quality.
You have overhead the front, pretty decent quality. And the front cameras seem to be pretty, I think the front cameras are better than they are on the Sierra.
They look better from what I can remember.
Even though the Sierra is a newer truck.
Yeah.
Anyway, and you can do the same thing rear, so you can do rear standard, rear overhead, rear down the side. Those are pretty grainy. And then rear hitch view. You also have a bed view,
that looks good
which is nice.
Yeah.
You can come in here, settings too, and you can change guidelines and whatever else you want to change. I'm gonna go back to standard. Close out of that. Accidentally hit controls. You have a Alexa trailering app. This is actually cool. I don't usually show this off, but I actually played with it a little bit yesterday just to see what you can do. So you have just kind of basic settings here. You want to add your own trailer? Do you want to use just a guest trailer or accessory no trailer?
So if you add a new trailer, will it save your settings each time? Okay.
When you hit add new trailer, you first give it a name. So I'm going to name it EV Geek. So why not?
Yep, why not?
Next. And then it comes up, what kind of trailer is it?
Okay, got you.
Is it a boat trailer, cargo, flat, horse, livestock, travel, or utility? So like I'll hit, it's a cargo trailer. Continue. It then comes up and starts asking you questions. So like trailer blind zone alert. If you click on it, it asks you how long is your trailer.
Oh.
Because this vehicle, if it knows how long your trailer is, will give you blind spot alerts even with the trailer attached.
Oh, that is cool. Gotcha.
So you can set it, this is a, what's 10 foot, 120 inches?
Yep.
This is 120 inch. Okay, it's too long at 120. So this is a, we'll say 60. It's a 5 foot, okay? And the, oh wait, that's width. Okay, hold on.
Like
5 foot wide.
There you go.
10 foot long. Sure. And so now it would do trailer blind zone monitoring, which is great. You can also come in here and you can have it set trailer maintenance reminder, so it keeps track of how long you've driven with the trailer attached.
Have you check your tires.
And it'll have you check your tires and whatnot as needed. You can also come in here, you can set it as a default. You can set it to alert if it thinks the trailer is too heavy. You can tell it to remind you to put the vehicle in tow haul mode when you plug in, and you can have it if your trailer is plugged in and someone unplugs it, it'll automatically set the car alarm off.
Oh, that's really nice.
And so when you hit done, you can see this again. You have your brakes menu. You can do a light test here. It'll show you the weight, and there's again that mileage setting.
Gotcha.
And I noticed yesterday, when you're here, if you go to your drive modes and put it in tow haul, it actually automatically adjusts the estimated range while you're towing. And I think it's hilarious. It counts down by 1 when it does it. But we can see we're at 59% state of charge, and it thinks we'll be able to go 161 miles. which at 59% state of charge is not that bad.
That's not bad, nope.
With a trailer, and then we put it back in normal drive mode, it automatically readjusts that back up, and so now it's going to sit there and count up next to us. I'm going to come in here and you have your check. Oh yeah, you can come in here and do a checklist to make sure, like, you can go, okay, I did check that, I checked all, like, I made sure all of this is good before I leave. Come in here, I have to remember how to delete it. One moment. There we go. Delete. Anyway, I thought that was cool.
Yep.
We don't usually dive into that, but I played with it a little yesterday. I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. You have auto park, so this is typical stuff. I tried this yesterday. These systems are generally pretty finicky in most cars, and now it's mad. I must hit the button wrong.
Even in the Tesla, they're finicky.
And so I did never actually get it to auto park, but it does the whole, do you want to park parallel? Do you want to park perpendicular? It looks for a space, and we'll like try to back in. You have your climate menu, so this again mirrors a lot what's here and a lot of what's here. But you can come in here, set temperatures, where the fan's blowing. You can set driver and rear, so you can set where it comes out in the rear.
So where is the button for heated and cold seats up front?
It is right
here.
Oh,
it's on the screen.
It is right there. Okay. So I do appreciate their separate buttons.
I was looking for a manual. I was looking for an actual physical button.
And you come here in settings, you have your auto fan speed, which is currently set to medium. GM auto fan speed is typically higher than most people want it, and so there is at least a low option there. You can set up wherever you want cool ventilated seats to come on automatically. Do you want eco climate on? All that jazz. Coming back home, you have Wi-Fi hotspot, of course. You have your audio menu, so this does support AM, FM, XM, Bluetooth, and if you had other audio apps, they would pop up here. You've got Google Maps, so this is Android Automotive with Google Maps, of course.
They look all the same in all the GM cars.
Yep. You can come in here, you can do route planning. If I want to go to, I'm going to choose a further away destination. I'm going to choose, where do you want to go?
Let's go to Chicago.
Let's go to Chicago. That's not that far. It's only a 10-hour drive.
Really?
Yep.
That was farther than that.
Nope.
Only 3 stops to Chicago. Wow.
And that's with us at
it's a 13-hour
59
charging.
Yeah, it's with us at 59% state of charging, and you can come in here, you can click on route details and see it wants us to charge at Forest City. It's a pretty long charge at Forest City.
Yep.
Then we're going to charge in, that seems...
Marion.
I would not stop that. Oh, Marion, not Arkansas. Marion. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. And then one more stop.
There is no charging Marion, Arkansas.
Still, 3 stops. That's a long charge. I wonder, it doesn't tell me what percent it's trying to charge to, but that seems aggressive.
An hour, 19 minutes, maybe.
I would do shorter stops.
I wonder if it's because the route you're taking, there's no other chargers.
Maybe.
I would probably go through St. Louis if I was taking that trip.
Yeah, anyway, and there are settings in here to adjust. Once you're logged in, you can set kind of percentages and whatnot. You can also come in here if you have the car set up, and you can hit... I figured out this compatible plugs option. If the car is signed into account, you can actually click in here and turn on whether or not you have a NACS adapter. Oh, that's why we've never been able to get a GM car to route to Tesla Superchargers, is because they're not signed in, so you can't go in and tell it that on this account I have a NACS adapter.
Okay.
Anyway, so you can do that, and you can also filter down by speed. So like I only want 350 kilowatt stations, 150 or 50s. Anyway, so pretty nice. I mean, it's pretty snappy, pretty responsive, and it works like Google Maps is supposed to work. We'll come home. Not a whole lot else to talk about here. You do have your phone menu, of course, controls, which is where we already were. I think it's funny there are like 3 different buttons on this infotainment system to pull up your controls. You got your My Chevrolet app and then just some generic Google apps.
We can listen to us while we're driving.
There you go. We'll go back home, and let's look at the center console for a second. You got a wireless charge pad here, 2 USB-C ports, and a 12-volt
see them way back there.
12-volt cigarette style outlet. 2 cup holders, a little cubby here. You also have pretty decent sized center console with a USB-C.
A lot of USB-Cs in here.
You can also hit a button here on the front and slide this back. So now you can have a little bit more, and there's actually a whole other storage area, and you can actually slide it all the way back. There's a whole other storage area down low.
And we have a little one in front of the passenger here.
And you see a little Easter egg here. I don't know if the camera can see that, showing the first Chevy truck all the way to this Chevy truck.
Little Easter eggs are cool.
Little Easter eggs. I'll slide that back forward. And if you want to hand it to me, I will show off the steering wheel.
There you go.
So looking at this is, you know, GM steering wheel, what you expect. This does have Super Cruise. You can see the IR is breathing up here, as well as the driver monitor camera. You've got your cruise control buttons here, of course. This button activates Super Cruise. You've got radio controls. This button controls the screen. We'll talk about it in a second. This also has the paddles on the rear for volume, next track, previous track, as well as a regen paddle. And this does feel like it's an actual pedal and not just a button. You have Mega Stalk here on the left that has your wiper controls, your mist, lights, turn signals, all that, and then a gear selector that is a push forward and down for drive, forward and up for reverse, and just forward neutral. Looking here at the screen, you can see, so this is kind of the default setting where you have your big old speedometer. You got a battery gauge on the left that does tell you percentages. That's important to note for a second. Power consumption on the right, you see we're pulling 1 kilowatt. It shows you audio here on the right, and if you have turn-by-turn navigation set up or going for directions, it gives you directions here. And then this is that context-aware menu where you kind of, on the infotainment system, can choose what shows up. You've got your range estimate here on the left, 260 miles. And if I hit this button, you can see we now switch to a more sporty view that gives you your speed and power bigly on the screen. And I was actually using this yesterday, and I'll throw a picture in here. It popped up a warning on the screen, and it moved these numbers up, and it was a little bit of a weird UI bug because the numbers were like popping up above the gauges. It was pretty comical to see. I'll throw a picture of that in here. You can also come up, do a full screen Google Map, which is nice. The camera is not wanting to focus on that at all. There it goes. You can hit this and you get a driver's assist view. So when you're driving around, you know, you've got it'll show vehicles in front of you, shows whether it can see lane lines, it shows you your gap, things like that. And then you have just a clean screen.
Clean, as the kids would say.
Come back to this home kind of screen. We'll look over here on the left, and you can see this is where you have parking brake, air suspension, lane keep, front trunk, tailgate, brightness, trailer brake controller with gain adjustment. On the door, you have buttons to power fold your mirrors. You've got your driver's seat memory to unlock, lock, window switches, etc. These windows move pretty quick, and they're pretty quiet.
They are quiet.
Interesting note, driver mirror is auto dimming.
Passenger is not?
Passenger mirror is not. And one thing I noticed, I actually didn't really notice this on the Sierra, but it's the same way on the Sierra. Passenger mirror is a flat mirror. You notice it doesn't have the whole objects in mirror maybe closer than they appear or whatever. Because this vehicle is so heavy, the regulations change and they can't put a curved mirror in. They have to put a flat mirror in. So it does mess with visibility a little bit, and you have to get used to it. Let's look at air suspension for a second. So this is kind of neat. So right now we are in normal ride height, I believe. And you can hit this up and you can see it pop up on the screen. You can go normal, increased, maximum. But you can also go down to entry exit. And if you press and hold once you're at entry exit, you'll see it says vehicle lowering, and it will take it a second to lower, and we'll look over here at the infotainment screen because there's a little Easter egg. As I mentioned on the outside, you cannot do this if you have the Sidewinder update installed. There we go. Keeping it low and slow, yes. Speed bumps, curbs, or obstacles, no. Because you have like 2 inches of suspension travel at this point. I don't have a whole lot else to talk about up here. Again, rear view camera mirror, big old glass roof, no shade. GM does sell an accessory that like pops in for a shade. It seems like it's a pretty flimsy part, but if you really want one, then that's what you get. Of course, you have your mirrors, you've got lights in the mirrors. Not a whole lot else. Are we ready to take it out for a spin?
Let's take it out for a spin. We'll see you all in a sec. All right, we are on the road here in lovely Little Rock, Arkansas, our normal track that we take when we're out here. All right, Sebastian, you have been driving this thing, I mean, literally, what, almost 100 miles in the last day. What have your thoughts have been on it?
So, I kind of alluded to this before. I really liked the Sierra when we drove it. And in my mind, I hadn't driven the RST yet.
Yep.
I had only driven the work truck Silverado, which is fine. Yep. But it doesn't have rear wheel steer, it doesn't have air suspension, all that. And obviously I liked the Sierra more than the work truck Silverado. But I had sat in RST. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, I kind of like the interior of the Sierra more, I like the vertical screen, whatever. After living with this the last day, I kind of think I've changed my mind.
I do like the vertical screen more than the horizontal.
Okay. Yeah. See, I kind of like the way this a little bit more.
Yep.
That said, I think part of it also just the reason I like this more. The Denali, I mean, everyone knows what a Sierra Denali is, right?
Yep.
And what it's supposed to be. A Sierra Denali has always kind of been an old man's luxury truck. It's kind of been, that's the typical clientele who buy it are older people. They want a nice truck. That's what a Denali is. This, on the other hand, is a nice truck that still kind of has that sporty feel to it, kind of that nice modern vibe to it. You know, you've got
most people who own the Denali version are not using it as a work truck. It's more of a luxury.
This has, you know, the red and blue stitching, and it has the piping on the seats, and kind of has the more aggressive wheels on the outside, and kind of the more just kind of sport styling to it. And for me, I actually kind of think I like that vibe a little bit more. I think overall, the Sierra tends to look better in more colors. Like you mentioned before, this one, I think on these, I think white is still one of the best colors you can get on them, which white is such a boring color. But I think the Sierra, I haven't seen it in a bad color yet. That said, out here on the road, it drives pretty much identical to the Sierra. It's pretty quiet, and here's a little bit of wind noise. Again, I said the same thing in the Sierra video. It's because the whole back of a truck opens.
Yep.
You know, if you don't get the midgate, they're quieter. And we saw that with the work truck. The work truck was quieter on the inside, but this one was. But work truck was on 18-inch wheels, not 24-inch wheels, and the whole back of the truck was actually solid. Coming back over here, just driving out here on the highway, it's doing pretty well. I'm surprised it's not giving me a prompt. Oh, hold on, that's my fault. There you go.
You actually
there's Super Cruise. Super Cruise has worked great for me so far. I used it on my drive up here to Little Rock this morning, so I drove about 42 miles, I think, from my house, and it disengaged twice. One time was because of on the road, so you know the new section of I-30 in Benton?
Yes.
There is a spot where, for some reason, they have not scrubbed the old lane lines off the interstate.
Okay.
And so the truck started to follow the wrong lane lines, very quickly noticed and disengaged. The second time it disengaged was because it was on the ramp. It was the transition from 30 to 430 on that ramp.
Yeah, a little loop around. Yes.
Yeah, the little loop around. I wouldn't have really expected to do that. They've also, as we've mentioned before, they have added support for 2-lane, just normal, regular, rural highways, not divided highways like we're on right now, not interstates. Super big improvement on the system. Adds so much more value in my mind because, like, for example, this morning when I left my house, the highway that I live on is Super Cruise mapped. So I just pull out my driveway and can immediately turn on Super Cruise, which is awesome. And then I got through town, and as soon as I passed the Walmart in our town, it told me Super Cruise was available again.
Okay, cool.
So I could have taken Super Cruise all the way to Hot Springs probably, no problem, which is awesome. Like for me, as someone who's 90% of my driving is from my house to Hot Springs, that's awesome.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, and so Super Cruise has done great. It does automatic lane changes. It does a couple, so I've noticed this, it seems to have slightly different personalities based on what vehicle you're driving. And I know that sounds crazy, but listen to me for a second. In the Hummer, I remember thinking Super Cruise was aggressive. You know, it was pretty often doing lane changes and doing all these things. You can actually see it's doing some weird, oh, it stopped. It was like shimmying a little bit there. It was kind of aggressive with lane changes, whatever. In Sierra, it drove like a normal person would. In this, I feel like it drives a little more cautiously.
Okay.
I've noticed like it will do the automatic lane change and it gets over kind of slowly and then it'll get back over. And if the car in front of it is like, it gets behind a car, it's disengaging.
Yeah, this is a very,
very tough little stretch here.
Yeah, it's very curvy.
Very curvy,
kind of
very
going
crooked,
downhill.
going downhill. I'm probably hitting it a little too fast. Let me ease into the one pedal there for a second. And yeah, so this, it seems a little bit more timid. Back on my train of thought. It'll get over, like do an automatic lane change, get back over, and if it does that, and like say it gets over and there's a car immediately slower in front of it, it'll just slow down. It won't try to get back over immediately like an aggressive driver would to then get around them. It'll kind of let you sit there and go drop 10 miles an hour for a while before it automatic lane changes, gets around them. It's a little odd. That said, that's the only weird behavior I've had using Super Cruise in this car.
Odd, those clouds in the distance.
Yeah, we are trying to kind of rush through some of this because we're a little afraid that we're going to get rained out today. Yeah, we started early.
We got a couple more to do today. Don't want to do any spoilers, but yeah, we're fighting the rain today. All right, so anything else you want to add, or is that pretty much it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, this thing drives a lot like the Sierra did, obviously.
Yep.
Makes sense. Same platform, same motors, same battery pack.
If they blindfolded you and put you in one or the other, you probably wouldn't anybody tell.
Probably wouldn't really notice, except for the fact this has kind of that more... There's a little, the interiors are a little less nice.
Yeah.
Like, for example, this here is kind of more of a rugged rubber versus being wrapped in leather type situation. Kind of the same thing for the upper dashboard. But ultimately, I mean, as far as riding and driving and handling, it's identical.
All right. Well, we're going to head on back to where we shot our opening and give you our final thoughts. Stay tuned. All right, we've just finished our driving review of the Silverado RST First Edition. I'll start. I mean, we've driven a couple of these, and they're just awesome. You know, they drive great. They have great range. Love the tech. I prefer more of the horizontal screen. You prefer more of the vertical screen.
Backwards.
So,
You want the vertical, I want horizontal.
there you go. I want vertical, you want horizontal. So yeah, really like the interior. I really like kind of some of the accents in here, like the red and the blue stitching. I like how this is the first edition. Just really impressed with this vehicle. Huge range. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. Sebastian?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm right there with you on most of the ways. You know, I want the horizontal screen.
Yep.
All of these GM trucks are pretty great to drive around in and operate. Even Hummer.
Yep.
Hummer, you know, for it to be this gigantic vehicle with big mud tires or whatever, it handles itself well. All of these GM trucks handle themselves well. They drive well. They do most of the EV stuff correct. You know, there's something to be said, you know, about maybe GM's take on getting a truck a good range is just to throw as much battery in it as you can.
So I'm trying to make it efficient.
Despite the fact that the battery weighs like 4,000 pounds or something like that, and the truck weighs almost 9,000 pounds. You know, some people could make a very valid argument that maybe that's not the correct way to do this. You know, maybe look more at motor tuning and efficiencies or whatever. However, they also did that because 2025s get 460 range versus 450 on this first edition. That said, these things charge well. They're fun to drive. They have plenty of power. And really, ultimately, do you want the Silverado? Do you want the Sierra? It just really depends on, do you want the more sporty truck styling? Or do you want the more traditional pickup look? You know, this looks like a Chevy Avalanche.
Or if you want an off-road, you'd go the Hummer way.
Or if you want off-road, you go Hummer way. Or you wait till 2026 and you get the Silverado EV Trail Boss, which also looks pretty dang sweet.
Some meaty tires on that
big
thing.
Big 35-inch tires, factory 2-inch lift, all the good stuff. But yeah, ultimately it just depends. Do you want the more traditional truck? Or do you want the sporty truck that also looks like a Chevy Avalanche, which some people don't like? I don't think it's a bad thing.
No.
I like the way this thing looks. I like the sail panels.
You almost have to go that way to get the aerodynamics.
Yeah, I like the sail panels. I love, like, this thing to me looks really nice. Super quiet to drive, super comfortable seats, cooled seats, heated seats, no massage, whatever. Route planning, does on-route preconditioning on demand. You can do it on demand. Like, it gets all the EV stuff really well. One pedal driving is excellent.
The launch mode was really impressive.
It's a good truck because it has that range that it needs. You know, because if it's 450 miles not towing, that's like 225 miles towing.
So if you need it to tow, you have the range. Unlike like a Lightning where you're now going from 300 miles down to like 180 when you're towing, or 150
or less.
Or less, yes. When you're towing,
so like if you cut it in half, you know, that's still 225 miles towing at 70 miles an hour. That's 70, 1.4, that's 3 hours of driving. That's about right. That's good. Or at least I think it is. I don't know. We were going to have people, we always have people in comments like, I want to drive 600 miles.
I want to drive 800 miles without stopping.
It's
my
like,
bladder can't do that. So yes, I can't drive 800 miles without stopping.
That's the advantage of having just big ass battery is you can do stuff like that. It's just physics. So yeah, super impressive thing. Love it. This one, you know, yes, it's 96 grand. A recent window sticker. I believe Everett has this one currently listed for 88 or 89. And you could probably talk them down a little lower than that because it has been sitting on the lot for a little while. They have a couple of these. So
white or black?
They have white and black.
As we talked about.
They also have the LTs, which we've not driven the LT yet. But, you know, if you don't necessarily need all the fancy features, the LT is a good option to look at.
Maybe the LT is one we'll look at reviewing here in the future.
All
right, thank you all for joining us. Another EV Geek Studio review. Another shout out to Everett Chevrolet for letting us borrow this impressive beast for a few days. And we will see you again on another review. Bye, everyone.